Welcome back to part two of the Nusach HaTefillah. Rabbi Kelman said it was like too fast, like I was going through too much. So actually, I've prepared to do a little review, and to when I review, I always like to give a little more detail. So let's review last week, and I'll give you more detail. So first of all, last week we talked about the three main Nusach modes. As I said, we're using Kabbalat Shabbat only as a frame for this lecture. I'm talking about Nusach in general. Kabbalat Shabbat is just a pedagogic frame for this. But because of that, I started with Adonai Malach, which is the mode that begins Kabbalat Shabbat. As I said, a mode is similar to what we would call a scale in Western music, but it is not limited to 7 notes, and it's not limited to the Western modes of music. Here it is shown as 7 notes each, which is good enough for us for now for simplicity's sake. These are the 3 modes that appear in the regular davening of the year. Now, as I said, we started with Adonai Malach. I'm going to play it for you for those of you who can't read music. Just wave if you can hear, just to make sure that everyone can hear. You don't hear? Oh, 1 second.
We heard. I heard that.
Now, 1 second. Here, I can do better.
It's me.
No, that's not good either. Second times 2.
We didn't see the 3 modes you were talking about.
This. I'm going to go through the. You didn't see the slide with the 3 modes?
Now
No.
we can see Adonai Malach.
Now we see it.
Yeah, Adonai. But you didn't see the slide with the 3 modes that I showed before?
No.
That's strange. Okay, so this is the Adonai Malach mode, and that is the tune for Kabbalat Shabbat, which fits into the Adonai Malach mode. So the Adonai Malach mode is that scale that I just played for you, and the tune for Kabbalat Shabbat is what I just played using those notes of the mode. Arba'im shana akut bedor va'omar am to'e levavhem. Yes. That's the mode, and that's the tune for Kabbalat Shabbat. And I said that this mode is used anytime we have something majestic. That's what's called Adonai Malach. It's of course named after the Tefillah, but it's also an idea of majesty, and it reflects the greatness of welcoming the king or welcoming the queen, which is why I said last week we use it for Kabbalat Shabbat as a welcome mode. But I also mentioned that we use it at the wedding ceremony when we welcome the chatan and the kala. Same mode. But I want you to listen, those who are asking a major and minor, right? It sounds very major, right? Chatan v'kala gila rina ditza v'chedva ava v'acheva v'shalom v'reut. Now listen. Me'Hashem Elokeinu Hishama Be'arei Yehuda. That's minor, right? So you see how Adonai Malach goes between major and minor. You can't just define it as major. It goes in both directions. You can hear that sort of happy major at the bottom and that sort of mournful minor at the top. Another place where you would expect to hear Adonai Malach, the majesty, is in Tefillah, when we actually stand before God. When do we stand before God? In the Shmona Esrei. Now, majesty every single day in the Shmona Esrei is a little too much. However, on Shabbos and Yontif, when we stand in God, before the King, in majesty on Shabbos and Yontif, so we go into Adonai Malach mode. Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu ve'Elokei Avoteinu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak ve'Elokei Yaakov. See, same notes, same tune. Hashem Malach. Now again, that sounds very, very major. But listen, okay. Baruch ato Hashem Magen Avraham Ata Gibor Le'olam Hashem Mechayim Eitim Ata Rav Leoshia Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayim Eitim Rachamim Rabim. Do you see? It's not so major. It goes into the minor, and that's the beauty of Hashem Malach. It's major at the bottom, it's minor at the top. It's a special Jewish mode, and you can hear the majesty in that mode. Okay, now I'm going to give you just a little treat for all of you for participating in this Torah in Motion lecture. Let me tell you, people who know Nusach, what they are looking for. There is a tell. There is a tell with the Amidah that I just showed you. Okay, so you've everyone's here heard this. Usually people get right. You've heard people stand up and daven like this. Baruch ato Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avoteinu. Okay, and then they get to the second part, the Gvurot, right? Mi chamocha bal Gvurot u'mi domeh lach. Everyone in the congregation who knows Nusach will be able to tell if you know what you're talking about. If you use that for Shachris, that is only for Musaf. Only in Musaf may you go up like that. Umi domelach. That is to distinguish Musaf. In Shacharit, it should go Michamocha bal Gevorot umi domelach. Those aren't variations. Those are signs of Shacharit and Musaf. And you'll see in the congregation of different people who know Nusach, they'll all be making eye contact, right, to be saying this guy knows what he's talking about, or this guy has no idea what he's talking about. So a trick, my gift to you. This is like a little trick of Nusach, how to distinguish between Shachris and Musaf on the Shabbos or Yontif. It's all in Adonai Malach mode, but that is the distinction between the two. Okay, so that's Adonai Malach review. Next, let's review the Ahava Rabbah mode. Let's just listen to it. You all heard that? Yes, sounds coming through clearly? Nod? Yes? Okay. And again, you can identify it, right, by the Hava Nagila. And just the third box here, somebody very learnedly pointed out last time that it sounds like minor, but it is not minor. It's actually a major scale, as you can tell from the chord. Right? Just listen. Sounds minor, but there you go. That's a sign of the major. Okay. If you don't know musicology, don't worry about it. Those of you who do, it's a little bit. So that's the Ahava Rabbah, or the Fragish mode. Rabbi Kelman, you still with us? Well, if Rabbi Kelman's not with us anymore, okay, he was asking for this, but okay, he can see. So with that Fragish mode, as I said, from The Sound of Music, when you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything. With that mode, you can have different tunes. So, for instance, Mariv for Chol, for weekday Mariv, Shabbat Shacharit, and Chol Shacharit are all in this mode, but different tunes. So listen to all three tunes for the davening, all in Ahava Rabbah Fragish mode, but different tunes. So here is weekday Mariv. Vehu rachum yechaber avon velo yashchit, vehirba le'ashiv apo v'le'yikol chamato, Hashem Moshe melch yaneinu v'yom koreinu, yam ba ba bam bam, yam ba ba ba. I use the fiddler on the roof to cue me in. You hear? That's Mariv Chol. Different from Shacharit for Chol. Shacharit for Chol. Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu, ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol v'ha'kadosh b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki lechanu Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei avotenu. See, it's a different tune, but still in that mode. Same thing with Shabbos morning shacharit. Nismach Moshe b'matnat chelko, ki eved neman karata lo, ki lil tiveh b'rosho natata lo. Okay, it's all in Fregish, 3 separate tunes, right? But all in the Alva Rabbah mode, right? They're all that way. Okay, so that's the second mode. Let's go forward. Magen Avot mode. This is the most popular. And again, the way to remember it is the brachot. The brachot before the Torah reading. Baruch hu et Hashem HaMevorach, Baruch et Hashem Notein HaTorah. That's the way to remember Magen Avot. And I mentioned that the brachot that we say in Shacharit are all that way. They're all the Magen Avot. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher natan l'savivin alavchin bein yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shelo asani goy. And that is done throughout Psukei de Zimra for Chol, not for Shabbos. Shabbos has its own tune for Psukei de Zimra. We'll do that in the next class. That is the tune for Chol for the brachot. And I was talking to Rabbi Kelman about in the beginning, most people who daven in Orthodox shul will use this for every single chol davening. They'll use it for Shacharit, they'll use it for Psukei de Zimra, they'll use it for Mariv. That is not at all correct. Shacharit, as I said, has its own separate tune, as does a Shemona Esrei. We'll get to that in the next lecture. Something to point out, as I said, Shabbos Shacharit is in Ava Rabbah, Nismach Moshe b'matnat chelko, but Shabbos Shacharit and Yontif Shacharit, because they're special, they get a special introduction in Magen Avot mode. Yishtabach shimecha la'ad malkeinu. That's Magen Avot. Notein HaTorah. You can hear it. Has a different tune. It's sometimes called the Yishtabach maneuver. It's a maneuver within Magen Avot, but it's Magen Avot. It's a special thing that we do. And as I said, I actually got some nice emails afterwards, people who were likewise frustrated with me. There is nothing that destroys one's ears than hearing that done for Chol. And all the time you'll be in shul on a weekday, and somebody will stand up and go, Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu. Never for Chol. That is only for Shabbos and Yom Tov. And the Yishtabach, and that special Yishtabach tune, the Yishtabach maneuver, goes from Shochenad, Maram Vekadosh Shemo, until the end of Eladon. At the end of Eladon, then you go into the Fregish for the rest of the service. Ad kan the review. Okay, let us now move forward. Again, we're going to focus on the Kabbalat Shabbat service as our frame, which, again, to remind you, is in the Adonai Malach mode. Arbaim shana kut bedor lechu neranena ladonai naria letzoyishenu. That is in the Hashem Malach mode. Now, I'm sure you've heard from many people, Nusach is like such a fussy thing. I'm just going to go, I like hearing lots of tunes. I like lots of singing. I'm going to go to a Carlebach service. I prefer the singing and the tunes to all of this fussy Nusach. Okay, so allow me to share with you what I heard from Cantor Sherwood Goffin, who was the head of the cantorial school at Yeshiva University. He was a friend of mine. He passed away far too early, and was not only a gem of a chazan, but a gem of a human being. And he said to me, B'hai Lishnan, these words, Carlebach never would have davened in a Carlebach minyan. Allow me to explain. What Sherwood Goffin meant and I've heard this from other people. If you listen to Carl Bach's early recordings, Carl Bach was an absolute master of Nusach. He has recordings just of the Nusach, like I've played it for you and I've sung it for you. And Carl Bach himself was very, very careful that even when he added his own compositions, he always made sure that the compositions were in line with the Nusach. I did that in my first lecture. Remember that you can write your own tunes, but they need to be in line with the Nusach. And Carl Bach, when he added one of his own tunes, then made sure to return to the Nusach of the Tefillah so that you never lost the Nusach of the Tefillah, which I said, according to Ashkenazi halacha from the Maril, who we'll talk about again in the next lecture, said it is as forbidden to change the Nusach of the Tefillah as it is forbidden to change the wording of the Tefillah. So I want to show you how brilliantly Carl Bach did this. So again, we're focusing on Kabbalat Shabbat. Listen to the famous introduction to Kabbalat Shabbat by Shlomo Carl Bach. Okay, everyone heard that? Okay, so beautiful. Oh, I'm going to use a Carl Bach tune, but look at what Carl Bach did, right? Lechune ranena, arbaim shana kut bedor. He's in the same nusach. He's in the mode. He made sure that his composition followed the Hashem Malach's mode. Okay, and this is the brilliance of Carl Bach. He made sure that the actual modes of the tefillot were respected, and great composers always did so. Joseph Malavani, who also taught and was head of the Bells School of Music, he's also done Torah in Motion lectures. Likes to talk about the tune that he prefers for Kabbalat Shabbat, which goes like this. Arba'im shana kut bedor v'amaram to'e levavhem v'hem lo yadu derachai. Here's Malavani's tune. Asher nishbati ve'api im yevaun el menuchati. I don't know how many of you have heard that. Malavani doesn't know the origin of it. He says he grew up with it in Tel Aviv. But notice how, again, the tune follows the same mode. Bam, 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 bam. Arbaim shana kut bedor. We're in the same mode. So you see that great composers of tunes understood the modes and used the modes as the notes from which to build their tunes. And what happens is people who don't understand this hear different tunes and say, oh my goodness, I guess I can use any tune for any davening, any tune that I like. And that is not correct. That's not the case. The real tunes that were written by the composers follow the Nusach. Take a look at this example. I said I would talk about cantorial music. Cantorial music. So we're going to take a look at the Tefillah Shema V'Tismach Tzion. This is the next mizmor in Kabbalat Shabbat. By the way, I said I would also introduce you to different sidurim and such. This is the Silverman Sidur, and the Silverman Sidur, which was very popular in the 60s, 70s, 80s in conservative synagogues, although his some of his sidurim and his machzor completely follow the Orthodox liturgy. I'm just going to point out to you, I love displaying this for Kabbalat Shabbat. This is the only sidur I am aware of that makes sure there is one tefillah per page. It's an amazing thing to daven Kabbalat Shabbat from this sidur. Look at how beautifully this is, but you'll see no other sidur does this. Drives me crazy. Wonderful sidurim like Art Scroll, like Rinat Yisrael, are terrible with this. My favorite is Friday Night Kiddush. which spans 2 pages in these Sidurim. They know you're holding a cup in one hand, they know you're holding a Siddur in the other, right? And yet the Kiddush is on 2 separate pages. Only Silverman paid attention to this. Unfortunately, it's not used because, again, like I talked to Rabbi Kelman at the beginning of the lecture, it's a muksa machmat mius. Once it became associated as conservative, no one else used the Siddur. I will tell you, if you're a davener, davening Kabbalat Shabbat from the Silverman is an absolute machaya. Every page has its own tefillah. Okay, so this tefillah here, Shema v'tismach Tzion. You see the red arrow is pointing to this. So listen to this cantorial composition. It was composed by David Eisenstadt, and it's performed here by a person considered to be the greatest chazan of all time, Moshe Kusevitsky. So listen to this composition for this mizmor in Kabbalat Shabbat, Shema v'tismach Tzion. You'll hear how cantorial it sounds. Okay, so people who like chazanos will love this piece. People who hate chazanos, this is exactly what they hate about chazanos. This like verschlepping everything out. So I'll leave you to your preference. My point is, it's not about chazanos or about tefillah or whatever. It's about the nusach. Even in this composition, notice Shama. It's in the Nusach. It's in the Hashem Malach. So regardless of whether you're a Carlebach or whether you're a cantorial composer, as long as you're following the mode of the tefillah, you're good, because your tunes, whatever the tunes are and however you write the compositions, they follow the Nusach. Okay. Next, let's take a look at Psalm 29. This appears a lot. Havul Hashem b'nei Elim. We have this tune a lot. It's in Kabbalat Shabbat. By the way, as I said, I will show you different sidurim. This is the authorized British sidur by the chief rabbi Joseph Hertz, who also wrote the Hertz Chumash. The British are very into things being authorized. This is the authorized Sidur, and this is Mizmor LeDavid. Again, allow me to show you the greatness of the Silverman. Do you see how on the top of the page you've got 2 lines from the last Mizmor? Right? It's like only Silverman did this properly. Okay, so this is Psalm 29. And I'm going to play for you a magnificent composition for this that was done by Michel Bolaffi. Michel Bolaffi, he lived in Livorno, Italy, in the 18th century. He was born in 1769, and he did compositions. And his compositions were for Nusach Roma. I told you different Nusachot. The Italians have their own Nusach. For any of you who visit, it's called Nusach Roma. It's not quite Ashkenazi. It's not quite Sephardi. And there were many, both Sephardim and Ashkenazim, who were in Italy at the time. And they spread out both to the Sephardi and the Ashkenazi world, which is why this tune has made it both to the Sephardi and the Ashkenazi world. I told you I would do a little bit of Sephardi, but this is a very Ashkenocentric series. And I want to play you Michel Bolaffi's tune for Psalm 29. I'm sure you'll be familiar with it. This is the original composition, note for note, as he wrote it. I'm sure you've heard it sung in synagogues. Give a listen. Wave if you are familiar with the tune.
So churchy.
Oh my goodness, indeed. So this is
It's Marchie.
It's Marchi, but most importantly, look in his notation, the original notation, right? It says Psalmo con coro, psalm with chorus, right?
Right.
Right? Adante, right? At a marching pace, as a walking pace, right? And majestico, majestic Hashem Malach. He
Right.
composed this piece. Yes, of course, he took church influences in terms of the music that was popular at the time. But most importantly, he matched it with the Nusach. He matched it with the majesty. He said majestic because he knew he was writing for Hashem Malach, and you matched the tune with the music. So there I showed you. Carlbach, okay, cantorial, and here we have 18th century high classical. Three completely different musical styles. You can go with whatever style you want, but you match with the Nusach, and that's my
So
point. Of
it's
course,
an
it
F
sounds
major? Is it an F major? Is that what that is? One flat, B
yeah,
flat.
exactly,
Yeah, F
exactly,
major, it's the
exactly,
same. Okay,
exactly.
thanks.
Pleasure. Someone pointed out how it sounds churchy. Of course, it sounds churchy because of the organ. Not a topic for today, but if I can tease you for a future lecture, the organ was used in Orthodox synagogues in Italy up until the 1970s. Up until the 1970s, Orthodox synagogues in Italy, including the Great Synagogue in Florence, used the organ. It was played by a non-Jew on Shabbos, but in Italy, the organ was not associated with non-Orthodox Judaism, and Orthodox synagogues used the organ, and these compositions were written to be accompanied by the organ, as shocking as that might sound to European ears. Okay, going forward. So if you take a look here at the piece that we just heard, if you're not singing it to that tune, if you're just going uh, into Nusach, so you'll see here the Nusach switches. Any of you have been to Kabbalat Shabbat, right? To the regular beginning of Kabbalat Shabbat. Arba'im shana kut bedor, v'omar am heim. Yes? Okay. Here, the Nusach switches into Magen Avot, right? Hashem lemabol yashav, vayeshev Hashem melech leolam, Hashem oz le'amo yitein, Hashem yevarech et amo v'shalom. You see, we switched from Hashem Malach into Magen Avot. And I want to show you, because these Nusach switches happen throughout the Tefillah, and I want to show you how deliberate these Nusach changes are, which is why, like I said, the common thing you hear in synagogues, Orthodox synagogues, that Chol on a weekday morning, it's the same Nusach from Brachot all the way to the end, even though there should be three separate switches. But look at how sophisticated it is. Okay? If you take a look at how it goes, okay? So the first part of Kabbalat Shabbat is in Adonai Malach. Then it switches, like I showed you, to Magen Avot. Okay. Then, as we'll see in the next lecture, for Mariv, it switches into the Western minor scale. For Bracha Chat Mein Sheva, for the last part of the davening, it switches back to Magen Avot, and it finishes with a special Kaddish in major. Okay, so all of these switches are deliberate. That's why you can't just add whatever nusach you want. And look at how sophisticated this is. It actually corresponds to the historic evolution of the Friday night service. Look at this. The nusach switches correspond to how the service developed. The part that is done in Adonai Malach, the first part, is the part of Kabbalat Shabbat that comes from 15th century Tzfat. The Magen Avot part is the original Kabbalat Shabbat that was from the 5th century. The core Mariv service is in minor. Then the additions to it go back to Magen Avot, and the special Kaddish is in major. And like I said, just like on a weekday morning, right? Brachot are one way, Shacharit is one way, Shmona Esrei is one way. We switch back and forth for these different tefillot to show the distinctions in the tefillah. So if you're paying attention to the Nusach, you are actually imbibing the historical evolution of the tefillot. And as I said last week, the changes in Nusach are meant to go to our neshamas, right? They're meant to evoke this collective subconscious of the Jewish people. And here you see how the switches correspond. We also switch nuschaot during davening when we are switching into different parts for different days. So take a look at this. Here is Musaf for Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. This happens about 2 times a year, that Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh coincide. And the Musaf Amidah for Shabbat Rosh Chodesh is done in the special tune for Chagim. It's the same tune that we use for the Shalosh Regalim. ובראשיך שכם תקריבו להשם ברים בני בקר שניים ואייל אחד כבשים בני שנה 7 תמימים ומנחתם ונצקם מטובה 13 לפר ושני צאנים לאייל מצרון לכבש היין כנזקו וסייר לכפר ושני תמידים כהלכתם. Yes? Everyone recognize that from Yontif? Yes. Okay. So if you've been to a shul where they daven properly, listen to how it's going to sound on Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. Ushnei timidim kilchatam nismechu v'malchutcha shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg המקדשי שבי, כולם יסבו ודנו מטובך, ובשבי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה וראשית. נעלם ולאבותינו רצי ומנוחתנו, מחדש עלינו ביום השבת הזה, החודש הזה. You notice that I switched from the Yontif, Rosh Chodesh Nusach, into the Shabbat Nusach when I switched from the part of the davening that was dealing with Yontif, Rosh Chodesh, to the part that was dealing with Shabbos. You very, very seldom hear this done, but that is the proper way to daven. The part that is done for Shabbos should be done in the Shabbos mode and in the Shabbos.
That means also of Yom HaShabbat?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And by the way, this is same as the Yamim Norim. When Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, the paragraphs for Shabbos are not done in the high holiday mode, which we're not dealing with in this series. The high holidays have their own mode, but when there's a paragraph for Shabbos in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and it falls on Shabbos, you do it in the Shabbos mode. You switch back and forth. And anyone who knows about Nusach knows how to do this, and you should hold your Chazanim and your Balei Tefillah to this, to make sure that the Nusach is incredibly sophisticated and it follows this.
Rabbi, you're the only one who can do it. It's very difficult.
It is very
Correct.
difficult. It's very difficult. You have to practice, but I'll tell you, it is no more difficult than, in fact, it's even easier than doing the Haftarah for Shabbat Chazon. The Haftarah for Shabbat Chazon, which switches from the regular Haftarah mode into Eicha mode, back and forth, is, I think, is brutal. Okay, and Balei Koreh can do that. If you practice enough, you'll be able to do so. This is, I think, easier. It's just a matter of.
Chazanim too can do it.
Chazanim are trained to do this.
Yeah,
so
all you have to do is practice. It's practice. It's like everything else. It's practice.
Yeah.
Or become a chazan like me. It's Gary Zenner. Hi, Eric.
Oh, hi, Gary. How are you? Good to see you.
Great,
Good
thanks.
to see you.
Okay.
Like prayers always have to practice the laning, even if you know it. It requires practice.
Okay. Let's move forward from switching Nusach, and now I want to move to the next part of Kabbalat Shabbat, which is Lechadodi. As I said, I'm introducing you to different Sidurim. For those of you who were there for my my lecture on Pesach, know the Ktav Publishing House put out all sorts of different Sidurim and Haggadot and such. and the beauty of them, they were designed for kids, so all the lines are numbered, which makes them such a pleasure to use. So here you have the Ketav Sidor with all of the lines numbered for Lecha Dodi. Okay, so Lecha Dodi, as Rabbi Kelman said at the beginning, has hundreds of different tunes. We'll talk about them maybe in the third lecture. But what I want to focus on right now is how Lecha Dodi reflects what we call seasonal modes. So I talked about how there are different modes for different parts of the tefillah, the different Nusach modes. There is another cycle of modes, which is the series of seasonal modes. Different times of the year have different modes. So this is like an overlapping thing with Nusach. And I'm going to tell you the one that you're probably most familiar with. And then I want to talk about one that's Inyana Diyoma that's coming up. So the one you're probably familiar with is on Shabbat Chazon, we sing Lecha Dodi to this tune. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Okay, yes, you've heard this? Okay, there's been a crazy thing that has happened in the modern Orthodox world, that people have stopped doing this. Anyone know why people have stopped doing this? It's a yeshivish thing. They stopped doing this because they say that this is, of course, that's a tune to what?
Part of Eicha.
Not Eis Rabat.
Keynote.
Which one?
Elitzion.
Elitzion. Elitzion ve'areha kemo isha betzireha. Right? And there are people say, so we shouldn't do this on Shabbos because, of course, you're not allowed to have a velus on Shabbos. Right? And so this custom has fallen out of use in many, many synagogues. This is terrible. And let me tell you exactly why this is terrible and allow me to blow your mind. This is not the tune to Elitzion. This is not that tune that I just sang, Elitzion ve'areha. We know the origin of the tune. That is not the tune to Elitzion. That is the tune to Lecha Dodi for Shabbat Chazon. That tune was written for Lecha Dodi for Shabbat Chazon because Lecha Dodi changes tunes, and then someone applied that to Elitzion because they said that. I know. Someone gave me a thumbs up. It's like the most awesome piece of trivia you're going to hear from me. It's all downhill from here. But it's important to know that that Lecha Dodi was one of the vehicles where the seasonal modes go. And by the way, it's not just for Shabbat Chazon. The 2 weeks before Shabbat Chazon also have their own tune for Lecha Dodi, which you also don't hear anymore. But the 2 weeks before, during the 2 weeks, during the 3 weeks, right, during Bein Mitzarim, okay, listen to a little sample of the Lecha Dodi for that period.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
Is that gorgeous? So it's been completely lost, this tune. You see it has a little hint towards Eicha, right? But not quite there. It's leading up to Shabbat Chazon, right? And it's a little bit there. Sfira has its own tune for Lecha Dodi in the mode for Sfira, what we're in right now. It's Inyana Diyoma. This is how Lecha Dodi is supposed to be sung during these weeks that we're going through now between Pesach and Shavuos. Listen to a little bit of the Sfira tune for Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
What a pity all these things have been lost. but this is how it should be done. Seasonal modes. Now, I will tell you that we are now entering a special season, which is the lead up to Shavuos, okay? And this season has its own mode. This you're probably familiar with, okay? The mode that's coming up for Shavuos, okay, is it's called the Akdamot mode, right? It goes like this, right? 9999999999999999999, right? Which is what we do for the Piyut Akdamos, which is done before the Torah reading on Shavuot. But this is not only meant for that. This is the whole theme of Shavuos, and this mode should be used throughout the season leading up. So how do these seasonal modes work? So first of all, the seasonal modes are introduced during the Rosh Chodesh benching, during Birkat HaChodesh of the month preceding the holiday where the mode is used. So for Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which leads up to Shavuos, right? We take that seasonal mode and we put it into Birkat HaChodesh, often in Yichad Shehu, but sometimes in Birkat HaChodesh. Rosh Chodesh Sivan yeh beyom hashlishi haba aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael letova. Okay, so we introduce the seasonal mode in Birkat HaChodesh. By the way, also for the Elite Sion, right? For Rosh Chodesh Av, right? It's the same thing, right? For Rosh Chodesh Av, you would introduce the Elite Sion mode. Michad Shehu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo. And you do that with all of the Rosh Chodesh benchings. You take the mode of the season and you first introduce it in the Rosh Chodesh benching for that season, and it goes for all the seasons.
What about the Mishas Anisim in the Rosh Chodesh benching? It could be used for that too.
Mishas, some people do it from there. There are many compositions for Mishas Anisim. The introduction of the mode is usually either done in the announcement or best is done during the Yichad Shehu. It's really the Yichad Shehu that is the vessel that absorbs it, and that's usually where it's but sometimes it can be done in the announcement of the month as well. The Mishas Anisim,
in places where they say the long Yichad Shehu, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah. You only need to give a hint of it. It doesn't have to fill the whole thing. It's just to introduce the mode.
Excuse me.
Yeah, please.
It's Gary. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's most customary, as you say, at the actual Rosh Chodesh line itself, or in Yichad Shehu.
Yeah. That's usually where it appears. And then if it's a month with Hallel, right? So then it appears in the Hallel. So for Shavuos, a good chazan, right? We'll add this somewhere in the Hallel, right? Ano Hashem Hoshiana, Ano Hashem Hatzlichana.
Exactly.
To give you that.
Or
mode.
Hodul Hashem Kitov.
Right,
either
exactly. In all of these places. By the way, the most magnificent place for this particular mode, for the Shabbos leading up to be like this Shabbos. Yeah, I'll show you. This is fantastic, right? In Shabbos Musaf leading up to Shavuos, right? And when you Shabbos Az Misinai Nitztavu Aleha, right? So when you actually mention Har Sinai in Shabbos Musaf, right, to add in the Azmi Sinai in the mode, so it's fantastic. And by the way, it also connects Shavuos to the other holiday that celebrates the Torah, which is
Simchat
Torah, right? How do we call up the Chatan Bereshit and the Chatan right? Yamod, right? Okay. the Chatana
That's also,
Torah,
it's
right?
also very similar to the Yom Tov Kiddush.
And exactly. And it carries through the Yom Tov Kiddush, so that every Yom Tov, right, you should have a memory of Har Sinai, right? It goes in the Yom Tov Kiddush as well. By the way, there are other places where we add things during the year. Yeah, so it's fantastic. And if you pay attention to these modes, again, you can't lose this stuff because it connects all of the davenings together. Now, the other place that this is done is
The German Kehillot are very, very marked in a lot of these things.
Yes, but they're fewer and fewer of them. Much of this is Germanic. Okay, so this is all in shul, but by the way, it should also continue at home. Once you've introduced the seasonal mode in shul, you then continue it at home, and during these seasons, you sing the mode during Shir Hamalot. Right? These modes are continued at home. So at home, you're reinforcing this. And for those of you who would like to practice, there's a wonderful book on this. Okay. Right? 71 tunes to Shir Hamalot. Okay. And this book has all the different Shir Hamalot for all throughout the year to make sure that at home you are doing Shir Hamalot to the seasonal to the seasonal mode. There's a picture of the book that I just showed you. Okay, so Shavuos also has its own Shir Hamalot, which is for Shavuos as well. Let me see if I can play it for you.
Shir Hamalot b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion naridu kecholmim az imares chok binu.
Okay, so there you go. So you can have
Dworkin, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, no, that's not Sidorkin.
No? I thought
No,
it was.
no.
Okay.
Sorry. Sidorkin's wonderful. No, that's Uri Aaron, the one who wrote the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So yes. So that's how it works. That's how it works with it. I'm going to give you one more piece of trivia, which you're going to love, I think, which is that Shabbat Shkalim, all the special Shabbatot, the 4 special Shabbatot, also have their own seasonal modes. And there's a wonderful, wonderful tune for Shir Hamalot for Shabbat Shkalim. It goes like this. Shir Hamalot b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion hayinu kecholmim az yimale. Any of you heard this?
Sure.
Of course, that's what everyone thinks is a standard tune for Shir
That's
Hamalot,
the
but it's
classic
not.
Shir Hamalot.
But it's not. It's the Shir Hamalot for Shabbat Shkalim. For some reason, it took off and people sing it every week. No, it is not the standard one. It is the special Shir Hamalot, which is meant to be sung on Shabbat Shkalim, and it is migrated elsewhere. But that's what it was eventually. That was what it was originally intended for. Okay, let's move on.
Standard one. What's the standard Shir Hamalos?
Yeah. What should we be singing for the standard one?
Yes.
Oh, so if you get the book, you'll see there are a ton. There's lots to choose from for regular Shabbat. There are probably 20 that you can choose from for regular Shabbat. If you buy the book, you can. I'm not promoting it. I don't get any royalties. But there are 20, maybe 30 for regular Shabbat. But that's not one of them. That one is special for Shabbat Shkalim. Okay, so let's move on to the last two parts for this second lecture, which is the end of the first part of Kabbalah Shabbat, Psalm 92 and Psalm 93, which is, as I showed you before, were part of the original Kabbalah Shabbat before the Tzvat part was added. Again, you see here, this is the Hirsch Siddur. Someone mentioned about how the Yekim, the Germans are very particular about this. So I decided to include the Hirsch Siddur. This is a modern version of it, but Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, obviously the rabbi of the German Jewish community, and you see again here this horrible one tefillah bleeding into the next page, which is again just such a pity here. Okay, so Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. Let's focus on the end. So again, done in regular Nusach, we've now switched from the Hashem Malach from the beginning into Magen Avot, right? Tzadik Hatama Yifrach Ke'erez Balavanon Yiskeh Shetulim. Right, we're back into Magen Avot. That's how it's done normally. However, it can, of course, be done to a tune. And I want to use this as an opportunity to introduce you to the music of the Enlightenment. So during the Enlightenment, as someone pointed out earlier, with the Italian tunes, but in Europe, synagogues throughout Europe looked to what was going on, not just in churches, but really what was going on in the general musical world. And they said, we should be doing this for us too. There's no reason why synagogue music should be any less than the great music of Europe, both in churches and in secular form. And there emerged great composers of synagogue music who wrote great tunes that have made their way into the liturgy, again, with respect for the Nusach. Tzadik Katamar has a beautiful composition by Louis Lewandowski. Louis Lewandowski was arguably the greatest composer of high synagogue music in the 19th century, along with Zolzer, who we're going to be talking about in the next lecture. And both of them had a huge effect on Nusach, Zolzer in particular. Again, we'll talk about next time. And here is Louis Lewandowski's Tzadik Katamar, which he composed again for organ and choir. So again, many of you have heard this sung congregationally in shuls. However, this was
in Breuer's, they still sing.
Oh, so of course Breuer's does it, which is magnificent, since Breuer's, again, you can't get more orthodox than Breuer's. But at the same time, the German Jews, including the German Orthodox community, adopted the music of Lewandowski, who composed for Reform temples, but this was considered to be the high synagogue music of Germany. And yes, thank you for bringing up. Yes, it's made its way into the Orthodox world through Breuer's, through Germany. It was become part of the Ashkenazi choral tradition, musical tradition. It's now sung congregationally. It was meant to be sung by choir in four-part harmony, and it's become part of the Nusach. Now contrast that with this. So wrapping up the last Mizmor that we'll deal with here, because next session we're going to go on to Mariv, right? Is the final psalm of Kabbalat Shabbat, Hashem Malach Geut Levesh. And I want you to listen to this composition, which was done by Jacob Kusevitsky. The four Kusevitsky brothers were considered the greatest cantorial voices of the 20th century, Moshe Kusevitsky in particular, but all four of them were magnificent. Listen to this composition by Jacob Kusevitsky, sung by arguably the greatest chazan of our generation, Yitzchak Meir Helfgott.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Okay, so many of you have heard this song sung congregationally. It's part of this much longer cantorial composition. And you see here the difference between Western and Eastern European compositions. Western European, which you heard before in Lewandowski, very measured. It sounds very much like classical music, whereas Eastern European sounds much more improvisational, has more of a jazz feel in that the cantor seems to have much more flexibility to do things within it. So those are two separate styles. I want to introduce you to the difference between Western and Eastern, and you can hear it in these two compositions. But I'm going to say again, notice they all respect the Nusach, okay? Right? The tunes here are consistent with the Nusach of the Tefillah, and that is my general point in this lecture. Within the concept of Nusach, both in terms of the actual davenings and in terms of seasonal, we respect the modes, and within the modes we can improvise. Last point on this, and then I will conclude because it's 2 o'clock. Those of you paying close attention will notice something odd about the title of Hashem Malach as a Nusach mode. Any of you notice something odd? Allow me to point it out to you. Okay, I showed you Hashem Malach at the beginning. Arba'im shana kut bedor v'amar Hashem amtoe levav heim. Okay, but look at Hashem Malach. Hashem Malach. Hashem Malach geut lavesh edotecha nemnu miyad levedecha navakodesh Hashem leorech yamim. That is in Magen Avot. That is not in Hashem Malach. Okay? Interesting. Which shows you that Nusach has evolved. At one point in time, okay, Hashem Malach was done to Hashem Malach mode. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been called that. Okay? Over time, and you should know this, despite the strictures of Nusach, there is historical evolution, and here is some archaeological evidence, right, that Nusach has changed for this. What we'll talk about next week is that Nusach Sfard has actually preserved the original, and Nusach Sfard actually does Hashem Malach throughout Kabbalat Shabbat and into Mariv, but that is for next week. So with that, I will wrap up, and next week we will do the Friday night Mariv and all the modes special to that. So thank you for joining.
Bitsuyan.
Thank you.
Let me look. You want to take a quick look at the chat? Rabbi, you want to take a quick look at the chat?
Let me look into the chat. What building is outside my window? It is the Great Shar Shamayim Synagogue, which still preserves the original Germanic Nusach as translated from Anglia. Still has a real cantor and a real choir that performs every.
Gideon's great.
Quick question. What about repeating of words?
Oh my goodness!
Not like it.
That's for another shiur.
Yeah, that's another. That's another.
Some do, some don't.
That's another shear. I'm happy to talk about that a little bit next.
When we expand the shearing beyond these four, we'll talk about it.
That sounds good because this is really very wonderful.
Excellent.
We enjoy it very much.
Thank you.
By the way, for those of you that
question.
Cantor Zellermeyer is going to be on the fourth class. They're doing
yes
together. Just you should know.
He's coming to Toronto.
Yeah, he's coming to Toronto for a concert.
When's he coming to Toronto?
June 2nd at Bet Tzedek with Stern.
Yeah. I saw it. June 2nd at Bet Tzedek. Yes.
Guys, listen to Nisim Sol.
Also amazing.
Amazing.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Matzlacha. Beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, please. Yes.
Yeah, my question is this: do we have any idea what the tunes were that were sung by the Levi'im who on the steps of the Beis Hamikdash? Do we have any idea what those tunes were?
So next week, I'm going to be talking about Misinai tunes and how far we can trace back all this music. So if you hold off till next week, one of my themes for next week is Misinai Nusach and how far this can go back. Thank you for all the kind compliments. MJ Frankel, what says not totally clear. Can you? What wasn't totally clear? Oh, my pleasure.
That was in response to a previous comment on whether the phrase should be articulated Hatzlicha no as claimed or Hatzlicha no as most people do.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I'm actually going to also next week. I'm going to be talking about phraseology and how that ties into Nusach. So we can talk about accentuation when we talk about phraseology. So thank you all for coming. This is like the most fun that I could possibly like. No one should be allowed to have this much fun. So thank you for being part of this, and it's wonderful to have fellow travelers along this path.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, very good.
Thank you very much. Wonderful class. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Tonight, not song, just learning 8:30 at Dina Blaustin giving the Parsha Shavuos shir from Cleveland, I believe. And tomorrow my Siddur shir, and Sunday, of course, is our Yom Ayun on Shavuot. I don't think anybody's talking about the music of Shavuot on Sunday, but they'll talk about Ruth, talk about all kinds of interesting things. So hopefully we'll see you then and there and all other places. And, like I say, all of you who are enjoying it, which is, I think, all of you, otherwise you wouldn't be here, invite a friend. Our best form of advertising is, letting somebody know and to invite somebody who hasn't come to a class to try one or can watch the 3,000 classes we have on YouTube if you want to go back. So lots to keep you busy. Right. Okay, Rabbi, Go Canadians Go. Are you into that a little bit? Are you into that?
Into what?
Go Canadians Go. Go Habs Go.
Oh yeah. No, we're into that. Cantor Zellermeyer actually sang the national anthem at the last game. It was
did he really? I haven't watched any of it yet. If the Canadians make it to the finals, then I'll start watching.
Tremendous nachas. Cousin Zellermeyer sang it wearing a Habs kippah. Wearing a Habs kippah. It's like such a kid.
What's the stadium called? It's not the Forum anymore. Is it?
No, it's not. It's not the Forum. It's the Bell Center.
Right. I grew up the Forum. I
know.
Danny
Live from Montreal.
I'm sorry.
Right. It's hockey.
With Danny Gallivan doing that, Jean Beliveau, Lafleur. I mean, that's the era we grew up in. But
Rabbi Jay, greetings from Efrat.
Oh, thank you. You're in Efrat?
Yes.
Okay, I saw my niece and nephew from Efrat last week. I was in Israel for 4 days, last weekend for a wedding. So I have a niece and a nephew, like not married, like a brother and sister living in Efrat. Very nice. Okay, enjoy.
Okay, Kol Tov.
Okay, Kol Tov, everybody.
See you in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks because we're off for Shavuos.
Oh, right. Next week, no class because of Erev Shavuos. That is correct. That's correct. No class.
See you in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Very good. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Very good. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah.